Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone watching. Welcome to another interesting live stream. I can already see what some of you are saying in the comments. Somebody said, Tucker Carlson is a UAE stooge, end of story. I think you meant Qatar. I don't think he's a stooge of the UAE. UAE is kind of like strongly aligned with Israel. It's kind of like a stooge for Qatar. But yeah, you're not far from the truth, my brother. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Once again, welcome to another interesting live stream. And we have something interesting to talk about. We are talking about the darling of this show. I mean, how many times have we spoken about this great legend? I'm talking about none other than Tucker Carlson or Tucker Carlson. Yeah, he did an interview with Mike Huckabee that has been released. And we are going to look into that and look into so many other things. It's going to be an interesting one. And I hope you guys are ready. Hope you guys are ready. It's going to be interesting. We have a lot of things to talk about. But please, guys, smash the like button, okay? We are 5 right now watching. Please smash that like button so that the numbers can get higher. I believe it's going to get higher as we progress. And today, like yesterday, or not yesterday, like day before yesterday, I plan to go for 4 hours. But if you guys are there cheering me on, talking in the live chat, it's going to keep me wanting to go on and on. You know, it is fun. It is more fun when people are interacting in the live chat, when we have people, you know, with us who are in the live chat, talking, interacting, then I know that I'm not alone. I'm not talking to myself. It's kind of cool, even though I wouldn't mind if I'm just talking to myself. Trust me. Okay. James Ramsey said, Tucker Carlson has turned into a piece of human S. In my eyes, may the Lord have mercy on his soul. Yeah, may the Lord have mercy on his soul. Exactly. And we have many more interesting things to say. In fact, I look, I have my takes on Tucker Carlson are not going to be tamed. I have zero tolerance for the guy. I dislike his guts. I think he's a horrible person. And I think he has always been a horrible person. You know, he's that guy that, I'll be honest, the reason why some people did not call him out when he was being horrible at the beginning of his show is because he was being honorable in a way that people appreciate. Like, you know, when you are attacking my own side, I'm going to be okay with it. And that was kind of how it was with Tucker Carlson, if we can be honest. He has not really been he has not really been that guy. You know, I know so many people who are conservative, who are right-wing, will be like, oh, I remember Tucker when he was this, when he was this, when he was this. The truth is, even then, he wasn't really a good person. He just said what the person paying him told him to say. Even if what the person paying him, even if what the thing he said, which the person paying him was telling him to say was something that we agreed with, but we should all know that why he was saying it is because the person who was paying him to say was saying it. You know, that is the truth about Tucker. But let's not dwell too much on that. I wanted to start the show by talking about Tucker's claim that he was being detained in Israel. But the truth is a lot of things have happened after that. And I just want to go straight into some of the things I have bookmarked that are like clips from his show. I don't want to watch the entire thing because I think that would be boring. So we're just going to be looking at clips that people have, you know, things people have clipped from the interview, his interview with Mike Huckabee. So we are going to look at some clips that have been coming out from it, and then we are going to be reacting to it. that is kind of how this show is going to go. I did not plan at the beginning of the live stream to talk about this. Like I said, I wanted to start by talking about the detention, but then I went on Twitter. In fact, that was the reason why I started this show late, because I went on Twitter like 30 minutes before going live. And then I saw that, people are already like, the video has already been published on X. People were already clipping it. People were already having conversations about it. And I was like, okay, you know what? If I don't start with this, everything else is going to be like old news for anybody who is listening, because they want me to talk about the current thing. Okay? So I decided, you know what? Let's talk about the current thing. And he has been making so many clips from the interview. All right, he has been making so many clips. He has been making from the interview, posting it on TCN, that's Tucker Carlson network. And then there are ones that people have been clipping from his interview, sharing it. Of course, people will not pay attention to the long thing. Clips are kind of how people get the gist of what went down in every interview. So let's react to those clips. So let's start with this. Let's start with the first one. This is from Max. And Max have been doing a lot of clipping, but of course, he's reposting Laura Luma. And he says, video Tucker Carlson. And then there's the flag of Iran. Tucker Carlson with the flag of Iran Qatar. Tucker Carlson with the flag of Qatar calls for DNA testing. For DNA testing every single Israeli and forcibly expelling everyone who isn't proven to be a descendant of Abraham. What a psycho. I'm not sure that's what is being said in this clip, because this sounds very preposterous. But let's see. Right? Yep.
Abram's descendants are the ones who have the right to have this land, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't we do genetic testing on everybody in the land and find out who Abram's descendants are?
First of all, I want to say, I think when it has to do with the conversation about whether Israel has the right to exist, because I think that's what this is hinging on. Does Israel has the right to exist? I honestly really think that it is one of the most stupid questions that we have to ask ourselves in 2026. I find like the premise for this question is so ridiculous, and I don't know why people keep asking it. It is really so ridiculous. Why does a nation have the right to exist? Let's not, people always ask, does Israel have the right to exist? Let us make it broader. Why does any nation has the right to exist? Why does the United States of America have the right to exist? Does the US have the right to exist? Based on what? What is it based on? Was it based on the fact that your ancestors came here, took control of the land, and are now here and they founded a nation and now the nation exists? Does that give America the right to exist? Nobody has ever asked that question about America. There's this conversation that people say about America being on, America is on stolen land. Now, of course, I'm not here to regurgitate that nonsense. But this kind of question is based on that kind of ridiculous thinking. Any nation that exists has the right to exist. It's that simple. Okay, any nation that exists has the right to exist. So people say, "Oh, Israel is not as old as my grandma. My grandma is older than Israel." Guess what? Your grandma is also older than Nigeria. Your grandma is probably older than Ghana. Your grandma is probably older than South Sudan. Your grandma is probably older than like 50% of the countries in Africa. But nobody has ever asked, why do these countries have the right to exist? The question is always asked when it has to do with Israel. And I find it ridiculous. When are we going to ask the question, does Pakistan have the right to exist? Because many of these nations are British creations. They are the creations of colonialism. Yet they exist and nobody has ever questioned their existence. Nobody has ever said this is a British creation. This was the product and the manufacturing of colonialism, of the colonial era. Therefore, these nations should not exist. Nobody has ever made that claim. But when it comes to Israel, they want to make that claim. They want to have that argument. It is ridiculous. Any nation that exists has the right to exist. Period. Done with that question. Does Israel has the right? It has the right to exist because it exists. It's like asking a child, does this child have the right to exist? It's the same. You can hinge this on, like you can make this analogous to the pro-abortion or the pro-life debate. Does a child have the right to exist? Who gives the right the child to exist? Is it the mother? Is it the condition of the birth of the child? Or the conception of the child? Oh, is this child the product of rape or incest? Therefore, it should have a right or not have a right to exist? Do the pro-life argument go like that? Of course not. The fact that that child is in your womb, that child has the right to exist. The same thing goes to a nation. I don't care, honestly. I do not care if the nation killed 1 billion people so that it can exist. I really don't care. The fact that it now exists it has the right to exist. Nobody has said Germany should cease to exist. How many millions of people did they kill? They say, oh, because Germany did that, therefore it should not exist. Or the Soviet Union, or China. Many nations have committed atrocities that are nothing compared to what Israel is being accused of, and nobody has questioned their right to exist. The only time this is done is when it has to do with Israel, and that is why this question is in itself. I know. People don't like to use the terminology, but it is an anti-Semitic question, and that is the truth. Israel has the right to exist because it does. Leave the whole, let's go to the Bible. Who was this land given to? It was given to Abraham. I don't care. I really don't care. If it was the Arabs that were on that land, everybody would say the Arabs have the right to exist. Muslims went and took over people's land. They own over 50 countries. Over 50 countries. Some say 57. Over 50 countries. Nobody has said, these Muslims don't have the right to own these countries. Where are the indigenous people of Mecca or the indigenous people of the Middle East that were wiped out by Muhammad and his companions? We should find those people and give them back the land in the Middle East. It only applies when it has to do with Israel, and I think it is a stupid question. If I was the one who was asked that question, I would throw the question back to the person asking it and say, okay, your country, whatever your country is, does your country have the right to exist? Why? Does America have the right to exist? Why? Why does America have the right to exist? Does Nigeria have the right to exist? Why? All right, let's keep listening to this.
It's really simple. We've cracked the human genome. We can do that. Why don't we do that? Would you be against doing that?
If he wants to use this stupid argument, why don't America and Americans and everyone in America give the land back to the Native Americans? Why don't they do that? Because he's going to bring up, they are native Palestinians whose ancestors go 2,000 years back to the land. Therefore, they should have the whole of Israel. And I'm like, you know what? We can also do the same thing in America and say, let the land go to the natives. But this is a ridiculous, I don't know. Even somebody who is a conservative, who knows this talking point is preposterous, they would use it when it has to do with Israel. And I'm like, why? Why not try it in America? Use it in America. If Israel does not have the right to exist, then America does not have the right to exist.
I have no idea what that would prove. I mean, really? Maybe it would be.
What do you mean? It would prove who Abram's descendants are and who has a right to live here and who doesn't, according to the theology that you yourself just explained. And so I'm very confused as to why we don't do that. If you believe the theology that you've just explained to me.
Would we do that all over the world?
Well, and everybody this is the only country in the world that you've said has this covenant with God, that this people have a moral and legal right to the land.
What about people who convert to Judaism? Would they have a right?
Well, you've just said.
I mean, there are not.
Let's even say based on the promise that God made to. Based on the promise that God made to Abraham, right? Let's go from it based on the promise that God made to Abraham. Your descendants shall have this land, okay? You and your seeds, they shall have this land. And he's like, let's do a DNA test to know if the people who are here are the